I don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. Everybody's out of work or scared of losing their job. The dollar buys a nickel's worth. Banks are going bust. Shopkeepers keep a gun under the counter. Punks are running wild in the street. There's nobody anywhere who seems to know what to do, and there's no end to it. The air is unfit to breathe, and our food is unfit to eat. And we sit watching our TVs while some local newscaster tells us that today we had 15 homicides and 63 violent crimes, as if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. It's like everything everywhere is going crazy, so we don't go out anymore. We sit in the house, and slowly the world we're living in is getting smaller, and all we say is, please, at least leave us alone in our living rooms. Let me have my toaster and my TV and my steel-belted radios, and I won't say anything. Just leave us alone. Well, I'm not going to leave you alone. I want you to get mad. I don't want you to protest. I don't want you to riot. I don't want you to write to your congressman because I wouldn't know what to tell you to write. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation and the Russians and the crime in the street. All I know is that first, you've got to get mad. You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value. So, I want you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
Well, we're not going to take this anymore, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. That is for damn sure. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It is the Sunday, November 23rd, 2025 episode. This is episode 563, episode 563. And we are here, and away we go. The name of this episode is What About the Other 133? What about the other 133? MTG News. Of course, that stands for Marjorie Taylor Greene News. Everybody's, I'm sure, caught up with what's going on there in Georgia's 14th district. Then we've got Anthony versus Kelly, and maybe you know who that is if you're following news, if you've been following what's going on kind of in the world. You'll probably know. Some of you do, some of you don't. Obviously, we have to shorten titles around here. We only have 100 characters to play with, and we're trying to get it all in there. That's Casey Anthony. If some of you might know her by her title, 2008's Mother of the Year. She's the recipient of the 2008 Mother of the Year award. Of course, she was acquitted of murdering her small daughter. And sometimes the criminal justice system gets it wrong. It is what it is. She is apparently innocent of that. However, my opinion is different than what the court determined, what the jurors determined. So that's Anthony versus Kelly. The Kelly is Megyn Kelly. We'll get into that here in a little bit. And then the last part, we're going to be talking about hindsight, and hindsight as it relates to the criminal justice system, specifically here in Indiana, how knowing things today, how that relates to something that might have been done yesterday. We're going to look at that. There was actually a show, a friend of mine. We've been talking about him here lately. His name's Guy Relford. He is the Second Amendment attorney. He's an advocate for the Second Amendment. He's also a radio personality. He had a show on this past weekend, and he had a segment on that was interesting, and I thought it might be worth talking about. So we're going to talk about that at the end. Of course, our main topic, the big topic tonight, is going to be this Prairie Creek news. That's what we're going to start off the show with. The the description says Bilbrey examines the Prairie Creek Reservoir North Shore camping fiasco more closely. It seems that Muncie Mayor Dan Ridenour may have excluded more stakeholders than just his Prairie Creek Reservoir employees as he delivered the bad news to Muncie residents. This is just another example of Ridenour's short-sighted, narrow-minded approach. Then Bilbrey shifts his focus to the national stage, where Marjorie Taylor Greene, a U.S. representative from Georgia's 14th district, recently submitted her resignation letter. Was this the right choice for her or the wrong one? What message is she sending with her resignation? Bilbrey breaks it all down. We'll talk about it. And I have something for everybody there. For the people that like her, I've got points for you. For the people that don't like her, I have points for you. For the people who think that she should have resigned, for the people who think that she shouldn't have, it's something for everybody. And moreover, it also fits to what's going on here in Indiana and elsewhere, because that's a Georgia issue. She's a United States senator, but it doesn't really affect us here technically. But some of the points that she used in her letter of resignation certainly does. So we'll be talking about that. And then, obviously, as I said, and then the recent comment by political commentator Megyn Kelly, political commentator, I don't know what I said. I think I said it backwards. Political commentator Megyn Kelly about the victims of Jeffrey Epstein has drawn criticism from several people, including none other than, obviously, it's a horribly dark joke talking about what a horrible person Casey Anthony is, but the 2008 Mother of the Year winner, Casey Marie Anthony, was Kelly in the wrong? Does Anthony have a point, or should she crawl back into her hole and not come out again? Bilbrey presents both sides and then offers the only side that matters, my own. And then finally, 2A advocate and attorney and radio personality Guy Relford discussed an interesting case on his show over the weekend, focusing on Hindsight. Bilbrey thought it would be an appropriate or good topic to discuss given its apparent relevance to the current events in Indiana. And I obviously am reading the description there. I do not refer to myself in the third person. So if that's something, I hate people that do that. So that's not what I was doing. I was just reading a description like I didn't write it. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, before we get started, so I don't lose it, because if I don't say it now, I won't say it again. Do me a favor, go ahead and smash that like button. Do all of that stuff. We don't ask anything from you. We don't ask you to give us money. We don't charge you for anything. Everything's out in the open. We don't have Patreon. We don't do any of that. Obviously, if you like to do these super chat things or you like to donate, that's fine. We're not going to stop you ever, but we're not going to ask you for things. And we put it all out here for everybody all the time, 100% free. So all that we ask of you is to hit that like button, to click the bell. If you've not subscribed, please do so. You can do so for free. Doesn't cost you anything. Click the bell. Consider communicating with us, which means if you're here live on Sunday, it's 9:14. You can comment over here on the right-hand side. If you're here via the replay button in the future, comment down below. Share the show with everyone else you know. And hey, let's get into it. So, of course, this Prairie Creek Reservoir thing has it's been a big topic all weekend long. It's not like just dying down. It's not going away. I have actually a couple times this weekend had to mute or silence my notifications on my social media accounts on Facebook and on Twitter, because I've been getting blown up with comments. And it's been about 50-50. 50% of the people commenting are commenting about Prairie Creek, and the other 50 are commenting about the Whitestown shooting. But the people that are commenting about the Prairie Creek thing, of those 50% of the people that have been commenting all weekend, if you take that just side in and of itself, so now it's a whole 100% of the people commenting, I would say it's like 5 to 10% of the people are saying, I understand why he did what he did, and you guys are just bitching over nothing. This is no big deal. You're making a mountain out of a molehill. While the other 90 to 95% of the people are saying, hey, look, something needed to be done. It wasn't in tip-top shape. Obviously, there were issues. Some correction needed to be made. But what he did was not the right way to go about it. And we're concerned that he doesn't have a plan. He doesn't appear to have a plan. The press release that he issued, the conference that he held last Wednesday, he spoke, but he never really said anything. It's one of his that's like a forte for Ridenour. He says things without actually saying anything. He will talk, but there's no substance there. There's a bunch of words, a bunch of filler words, a bunch of phrases, a bunch of things that sound nice and make you feel like, something's happening. But at the end of it, if you step back and you review what's said, it's like, dude, he said 1,500 words, and there were only 35 words that actually meant anything. So that's that. And I'm going to tell you where I'm going to start here. The first place I'm starting, because I'm going to tell you, that's true, Kate. So I'm going to tell you the first thing I have a problem with, and I've talked about this with Ridenour for a while. I've also talked about this with other people in the city, other elected officials, other council people over the last, say, 4 to 5, 6, or even longer. There's a really big problem. There's a really big problem in Delaware County, and I include Muncie in Delaware County, and because for some reason, the people specifically of Muncie and Delaware County, and to some lesser extent, Yorktown, they suffer from this as well. So it's kind of like Delaware County, Muncie, and Yorktown. They all have this way of forgetting that they are connected to the rest of it. Muncie forgets that it is a city inside Delaware County. Delaware County forgets that it is a county that Muncie is inside of. Yorktown, like Muncie, doesn't like to think that it's connected elsewhere to Delaware County. And really, Yorktown and Muncie don't like that they butt up to each other. So it's like this thing. I'm going to take it back to the Delaware County EMS, Muncie City EMS 911 fight over the EMS program. One of the things that I said, because I started out as somebody who was opposed to the city of Muncie starting their own EMS program. But once I tuned out the people on the left, once I tuned out the people on the right, once I tuned out the Tyler people, once I tuned out the county people, the city people, and when I looked at the information, when I just shut all of the emotion out of it and all of the, well, this is what we feel, and I looked at just the numbers and what made sense, it took no time at all for me to see that it made sense that the city of Muncie wanted to start an EMS program, that they had that ability, and that they should, because I fully believe in the smallest form of government handling a person. We don't need all of these extra big, I'm going to be handled by this, then the size larger is going to handle me, and a little bit size larger is going to handle me. Bottom line, if the city feels as though it can provide a service to its citizens, hell yeah, it should do it. It makes perfect sense. If it's not going to cost the citizens exorbitant amounts of money, if they're not going to tax those citizens to death, if they're going to be able to provide a service that is, a standard of which they wish to have, then they should be able to do it. And it might suck for the county, but the county has no say in what the city does. Well, it's kind of like this with Prairie Creek. The city and Ridenour and all of the people that work for Ridenour and all of the city councilors and the city judge and the city clerk and anybody that works as a city employee, a public servant for the city of Muncie, working for the citizens of Muncie, their first and foremost responsibility is for the citizens of Muncie. The taxpayers of Muncie are paying the taxes for the city of Muncie to deal with them first and foremost. If we had a mayor who was doing all this stuff for Delaware County and doing a whole bunch of things, and not looking after the citizens of Muncie, I would have an issue with that. The reason I bring this up is I've been hearing that this is what Ridenour has been talking about behind closed doors inside his office to his sycophants, the people that follow him and tell him that his clothes are beautiful even when he's naked, apparently. Okay. I've heard that he's been bitching about the fact that this is a city park and we're paying, lots of money that's going to this, and we've got people working out here and we've got to do X, Y, and Z. But there are a lot of people that are going to this that aren't even from Delaware County, or they're not even from the city. He's even went so far as saying that it's not citizens from the city of Muncie that's utilizing this park. Well, first and foremost, that's bullshit, and we proved it. He gave us the answer. So for those of you that might not remember, or you didn't hear, or it's been a minute, and keep in mind, we're only talking about the North Shore camping. That's the other thing that everybody is saying. Okay. Everyone is saying, well, you guys are bitching and all this other stuff. No one's taking anything away with the boats. No one's doing anything with the beach. No one's doing anything with the sail club. Not yet. First, it started with the trails at the campsite, and then the fence was put up. Then it went to the horses. Now it's the campers. Wait until it's the boats. Wait until it's the sailboats. Wait until it's the campground. They've taken away 3 things. How much more do you want them to take or to stop before we throw a fit about it and we start talking about it? That's first and foremost. Okay. But let's just say that they're never going to end the boating in all capacity, and they're going to have the beach and people can walk around, and they're going to have playgrounds, and it sounds like maybe pickleball had, wonderful stuff. There are a large amount of people, obviously, that go camping out there, that like to camp out there, that have enjoyed that. Now, I have to say this to be very clear. I do not have a camping space out there. I have never camped at Prairie Creek. If they offer camping again next year, I wouldn't be lining up to get a lease. I don't do night camping. I don't do season-long camping. I do not have a horse in this race. I don't have a dog in this fight. So I've been accused of that. There's been several people that have accused me of whatever. I've been to Prairie Creek, to the campsite. Two or three times in my life. I went out there and hung out with Troy Ingram and a couple of other buddies on the 4th of July back in 2020, 2019. And then I might have went the next year, like a time or two. So I don't have a dog in this fight. My mother and my stepfather and my mother's sister and her husband and their family share a dock out there with a pontoon, and I've been on the pontoon once or twice. Okay, so I've never. Yes, it is. It is Stumblefoot. I think Dan actually said that number. Let me see what you're saying here. I'm looking here. Here's some of the comments. So I just want to clear that up because I've been hearing that from people. So I don't have a dog in this fight. Close the park, blow the park up, fill the water in, whatever. I think it's a dumb idea, and I think it hurts my fellow people, citizens. I think that's stupid, but you're not hurting me. You're not getting over on me. This is not about me, okay? When we were at the presser, Dan had said, and I had heard this multiple times, and I think we've all heard this by now, that the campsite that we're talking about, the North Shore, has a total of 234 campers. 234 campers. And the lease calls for 55, something like that, 55. So that means that we are 179 camping slots over. Now, Ridenour is correct. That did not happen under his watch. It didn't happen under Tyler's watch. It didn't happen under McShirley's watch. It didn't happen under a Cannon's watch. It didn't happen under Al Wilson or Kerry. Here's what happened. It happened under all of their watch. It happened under all of them. It was a slow build, and for the longest time, the ownership of the Indiana American Water and what it was called beforehand, Muncie Water Works or whatever, they didn't care. They didn't care. Mike, the water company's not happy with the overcrowding. They're the ones that brought this up. They're the ones that originally brought this up. So this is how this come to light. And I'm going to talk about another situation here real quick. I'm getting off point, but we've got to. There's a reason for this, so I'll circle right back to this. But there's this rumor going around that all of this come to light because there was an employee that was hired by the city of Muncie that worked at the Prairie Creek Reservoir, and she quit. She went to work for the hotel downtown, and then after that, she went to work for Indiana American Water. Now, I'll be really honest. It seems like a very strange coinkydink that this is all happening. However, I will say that I'm pretty sure that all of this stuff started before Ashley went to work at Indiana American Water. Now, could she have done or said something once she got there to maybe worsen the problem? I mean, I think that she left, and I think that she was not happy with the administration and maybe not happy with Prairie Creek when she left. I don't really know. You know, that's interesting. There may have been things that she could have done or said that might have hurt, you know, in some way. But I'll be honest. I think that this all started before she got there. Okay. Going back to the number. Everybody I've heard, the people that have been happy that Dan did this, and even the people that are campers out there have said, yeah, it was, we need to, something needed to be done. We needed to shore this up. We were having issues. It was overcrowded. Okay. So let's set that aside for a second. Let's set this aside. Okay. There was an issue and it needed to be taken care of. We'll come back to that. The very first thing that I wanted to know when I started hearing this was, and when I say when I started hearing this, what I mean is I started hearing months ago that Dan was looking at doing away with camping out there, total doing away with camping in order to try to reshape something, but that camping was coming to an end. And I don't know if my grandparents are up still watching, but Les can come in here and say, yes, if that's true. The weekend before, Ridenour came out and announced this on last Wednesday. The Saturday before, I told my grandpa, Ridenour is going to do away with camping at Prairie Creek. I knew he was going to do it. I've heard he was going to do it. I should have said it. Now, what would that have done? It would have just showed me like, yep, Bilbrey was right yet again. He knew it. Yep, right again. I say that. Look, right there. Les just said yes. That's my grandma's secret code name. FYI. Anyway, so the government doesn't get her. She's on the run from the IRS and Trump. Anywho, she'll probably say yes again. Anywho, I say that because when I make the predictions that I make now, and when I say the things that I make now, and I get the Ridenour groupies and the other elected officials to get shitty with me and to be like, oh, you're wrong. You're not helping anything. I'm like, look, the only reason I'm saying this, okay, I could sit quietly and not say anything and just watch it become a cluster. And then in 18 months be like, look, I could have told you I knew it was going to do this. But what would that have done? That wouldn't have done anything. I bring you the information because we all have to come together and push to make the change that we want. It's going to take all of us. I can't do it on my own. You can't do it on your own. It's going to take all of us. But we have to be educated first, and the education has to be truthful, and it has to be accurate information, and that's the point of what I do. That's the point of these shows. 5 nights a week, every week. Okay. So when I heard that he was going to shut this down, 234, the reasoning that he was giving was he was mad that there were more people that were using the campgrounds that were not Muncie taxpayers. Hold off. That was his word. They were not Muncie taxpayers. I guess what he meant was They didn't pay property taxes. They weren't property taxpayers, because anybody that drives through Muncie, someone from Anderson who comes here and eats, whether they eat at Lahody's or they eat at the Chop House or they eat at Elm Street or they eat at McDonald's or they eat at MCL or they go and they get one of those weird ass 5-week-old hot dogs on the little spindle thing at McClure's, they're paying money they're paying tax. They're getting gas. They get pulled over. They're buying product here. They're eating. They're staying in hotels or doing things. People that don't live here pay tax here. It's just the nature of what it is and how it goes. So I guess what he means is the people aren't property taxpayers. But think about it. He's building all these apartments. All these apartments all over. He's going to turn everybody into a non-property paying, tax paying person. Then what's he going to do? So the reason that I heard for a long time that he was griping was because out of the 234 people, a large majority of those were not paying taxes for the city of Muncie, that they were not from Muncie. So I said, that's what I said. Wait, only property owners can use the reservoir? And what do you mean, Dan? Out of 234 leases, 234 slips, how many people aren't from Muncie? Well, that question came up at the press conference. And at the press conference, when Doug Walker asked the question, how many leaseholders are from the city of Muncie, Dan said 101. 101 are from the city of Muncie. 101. Okay. So then the question is, how many are left over? Well, that's simple math. If there are 234 slips, areas, leases, and 101 are from Muncie, that means 133 are not from Muncie. So he was technically right. He's technically right. Less than half are Muncie owners. But Doug Walker didn't ask the follow-up question. He didn't say, well, sir, how many of the 103 are from Delaware County? I thought he was going to ask it, but he didn't. So then somebody else asked another question, and I thought, okay, well, the next person's going to ask it, and they didn't. And then I thought, okay, the next person's going to, and they didn't. So I was like, well, damn, it's going to be left to me. So I spoke up at the council meeting. I spoke up and I said, can you tell us of the other half of the other 133 people, how many are from Delaware County and how many are from outside of Delaware County? And Dan said, what did he say? Everybody remember what he said? Let me pull this up here because I want everybody to see this. I don't want to just you go off my word. We've all seen it by now, but I want everybody to be able to see this so there's no confusion. Okay? I want everybody to be able to see this. Give me 1 second here. I'm pulling it up. Okay, right here we go. Travis, good points. He should have spent 100 of the 600,000 he spent on the bakery to put the new wastewater tank in, and most of the problems would have been solved. Water company doesn't care if there's 400 campers. They just need wastewater space, not leaking into the ground. And now here is a man who is definitely understanding what the dealio is, and he is 110% correct. See, the thing is, what everybody's got used to is the fact that Prairie Creek is quote unquote self-sustaining, that the city of Muncie doesn't have to dump anything into it, that the city of Muncie hasn't had to put any money into it, that there's no kind of issue there because it's very simple and it takes care of itself. But even when that's the case, sometimes you have to put a little back into it, and that's just common sense. And if we would do that, if we would be doing that, things would maybe be a little easier on us. It would be a little better for the people that are out there, and then in turn it would be better for the mayor. Okay, so here we go. I've got this pulled up here. I'm going to put this up on the screen here. Give me a second. Share screen. Okay. All right.
How we can get it put together.
So you're not guaranteeing it's only going to take a year then?
101 up to 2/3
people.
All right, here we go.
Who last camping season were out there were Muncie residents.
I do, I know.
What?
You see, he even wanted to be coy with that.
101 up to 2.
Doug asked him, and he's like, "Yeah, I know." And then, I don't know if he thought he was just going to get off without saying that, but then he's like, "Yeah, 101 of the 234." All right, so that's 133 that we don't know where they're from.
34. We're all that
here we go.
Residents. But there are some who paid extra. But there's no camping there. But there is some equipment.
So if you're aware that the 101 were Muncie residents, of the others, do you know how many were from Delaware County? Or is there a mixture from Delaware County or outside of Delaware County?
I was not able to obtain that.
That's fine.
Why? Why was he not able to obtain that? It's his administration that keeps those records. He's been working on this for over a year now, for about a year. Oh, a little over a year. Bullshit. Listen, and I apologize. I failed you. I failed you. I failed every one of you because I chickened out. I should, when he said that, and I said, okay, thank you, knowing that I would get it later, but what I should have done is said, bullshit. Bullshit. Because there's no way he didn't know. No, I'm not even going to give him that excuse. I get it. I get that. No, let me tell you why. Let me tell you why he didn't give us that number. So over the weekend, ladies and gentlemen, I reached out to a couple of other stakeholder officials within, I'm not going to name anybody. I'm not going to dime anyone out because I don't burn sources here. And you can believe this or not believe this or whatever. Look, here's the bottom line. I'm going to get the hard and fast and accurate number. We'll get it. We'll have it. But I asked someone else that I asked a couple of people. And of the people that I asked a couple that I figured would definitely know. And one of them told me, does anybody want to guess? Let me ask you, everybody here that's watching, of the 133 people, Kate doesn't know this information. Producer Kate's not seen this. How many, what are you saying, 100? Out of the 133, how many are from Delaware County? Is that your answer, 100? So Kate's answer is 100. Alva's answer is 110. Come on, throw it up. I know we got a 20-second delay here. That 20 seconds when nothing's happened feels like an eternity. Come on. I know we got some more risk takers. Throw up your numbers. Glenda says, wait a minute. Are you saying only 23 is from Delaware County? Whoever the hell that is, DW52 PLOW. What kind of a name is that? 133. Okay, so here's the deal. So I have a record request in. To the city of Muncie. I have a record request into the city of Muncie for the actual total numbers. And they have track of this. And Ridenour knew it at that day. He's full of crap. He knew it. I was told on Saturday that there are 5 DW52 PLOW 72. I'm not. I was told 5 or 10. 5 or 10 of the 133 people are from outside of Delaware County, meaning Randolph County or Henry County. And that everybody else is from Delaware County or Muncie. Wait. Let me make sure. I want to make sure that I'm speaking right. It's not out of that. Hold on, back up. Let me make sure I'm saying it right. Give me 1 second. Okay. Yes, I'm right. So we can't say it out of the 133. So the person that I knew said, this is what the person said. So we're going to have to do it like this. We're going to have to do some math. The person that I asked, I said, what's the breakdown? And that person said, out of the 234, 5 to 10 of them are from outside of Delaware County. Outside of Delaware County. So, yeah, right? Alva. So listen. So I'm going to go ahead and take the 10 and I'm going to add 5 to it. So we'll say 15. So if we have 234 minus 15, then that's 219 campers are from Delaware County. 219 campers are from Delaware County. Now, out of those 219, we know that 101 are from Muncie. That would mean roughly 118 are from Delaware County. And this is why this is a big issue. I'm going to tell you right now why this is a big issue. This is a big issue because This is a big issue because I get it that Dan is the Muncie mayor. I don't know if you're joking or not. I am not sure why Dan doesn't realize this. But when you're the mayor of Muncie, you are also the mayor of the county seat of Delaware County. And honestly, like, look, I look at Muncie as being the capital city of East Central Indiana. I look at the city of Muncie being a beacon that should first help the city of Muncie, second help Delaware County, third help East Central Indiana, fourth help the state, fifth help the United States of America. That's how it should go. First and foremost, our focus should be Muncie. Our second focus should be Delaware County. Our third focus should be East Central Indiana. You know, it just goes out like that. We're not going to Muncie. That's what Sean Byram had wrong in Winchester as a mayor. Muncie's first and primary focus shouldn't be Indianapolis. Muncie's first and primary focus shouldn't be the state. Muncie's first and primary focus should be Muncie. But our second primary focus should be Delaware County. The elected officials in the city of Muncie and in Delaware County really need to understand that we have to work hand in hand together. And Ridenour's inability to do that has really been a problem. It's really been an issue. Muncie is corrupt. And you're exactly correct. And so first and foremost, I have that problem. I'll be honest. I wish Delaware County was handled by the county government. Or, excuse me. Oh, no kidding. That would be nice, wouldn't it? Reservoir. I wish Prairie Creek Reservoir was handled by the Delaware County government. I feel as though it would be a more beneficial situation for everybody in Delaware County. And we've got somebody on here that are saying that they are from out of county and that they've been bringing, they come here and they bring it here and, they've been doing that. And then now that this is happening, they're obviously not going to do that. And here's the thing, and this is what I don't understand. This is what I don't understand with what Dan's not getting about this. First of all, so I want to be very clear with what my thinking is here. Camping is never coming back even remotely like it was. They might put 10 or 15 or 20, maybe 25 spots back. Shoot, they might put 50. They might put 50. We might go with the lease. But I don't even know about that, honestly. We'll say 50 and under. They're going to put 50 and under spots back. And those camping spots are going to be nightly camping, weekend camping, and or maybe 7-day long camping. So the thing is, it's never going to go back to be a seasonal lease situation. It's never going to be leased from spring to the fall again. That's just not going to happen. I don't believe it's going to happen. I'm saying it right here. I'm saying it right now. That's never going to happen. I'm also saying that I find it very hard to believe that he's going to have this all up and running and everything smooth out and everything working by the 18th month, which will be May of 2027, which is the primary, which is when he will be up for re-election. I don't believe that this is going to be done. I think that this is going to turn into another crisis center. It's going to turn into another Till Pond. It's going to turn into another Southway Plaza. I don't think it'll be camping. I look for Dan to build lakeside luxury condos or hotel. Now, here's the deal. He won't be able to build on that site because it's not his property. I don't look for him to build things there. I don't think that he'll do that. Could they build houses on the other side out, but that's still county. So somebody asked, let's see, Jackie says, when it helps his agenda, the mayor, let me see, what did that say? When it helps his agenda, the mayor promotes our parks, and the Prairie Creek has great amenities that attract new residents, visitors, tourists to Muncie and other Delaware towns. It's a positive for all. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, man. And Tiger Shark said, it's the county. How can the city lease it? So basically, long time ago, it's property that's owned by the company that was before Indiana American Water. I think it was Muncie Water Company, Muncie Water Works, something like that. And they bought it, and it's where our drinking water comes from. It's where our drinking water comes from. So it's a situation for that. And so we've leased it for like $1 a year from way back when, like 64 onward. And then actually that lease ran out in like 99. And no, maybe not 99. Dennis was in office. So I don't know when it ran out, but I think Dennis was in office. So I think it might have ran out in like 2015 or 2016 because Tyler was in office. And the mess up, what should have happened is they should have reworked a new lease, but they didn't. They just put a resolution in saying everything's okay with the old lease. We'll keep it going. And they entered in a resolution that said, we're going to keep this going. Oh, I know where I got 99 because they put it in. We're going to keep it going for another 99 years. So we're currently in a lease for 99 years. And then, okay, so Joan here has mentioned another interesting fact, and this is very important here. Okay, another big issue I have. So real quick before we get there, I said in the teaser in the description that Dan has left people out of the mix because he was talking about he's going to talk to the interested parties. He's going to talk to the stakeholders. Well, let's talk about those interested parties and let's talk about those stakeholders. What makes us believe that Dan is going to do what he does? And that when Dan does what he does and he acts like he acts, what makes us believe that he's really going to talk to interested parties and the stakeholders? Those are just simply words that mean his friends and the people that he wants to, because Dan doesn't truly have a plan to talk to the actual stakeholders and the interested parties. If he did, he would have notified those people before he threw this all out in a press conference. He didn't notify the employees there. He did not even talk to the people that work out there. They had to find it out by watching our live streams and watching the Twitter posts and watching the Facebook posts. They found it out like everybody else. That's so gross. Okay. But not only did Dan not tell the employees, Dan also Dan also didn't tell all of the board members. The Muncie City Parks Board, they have 5 members. Okay. And those 5 members make up the governing body of the parks in Muncie. And one of those parks is Prairie Creek Reservoir. Dan had one, and this is funky how it happened. Dan had one member from the Parks Board there, the president, Brad Marshall, and then he had his city attorney there, Mark Irvin, and that just so happened to be another member of the park board because Mark has a dual role. Mark is one of the city attorneys, but he's also a member of the park board. So Mark and Brad were at this meeting on Monday. They found out on Monday that Dan was going to do this. Dan nor either one of those 2 park board members said anything to the other 3 park board members. He never let them know anything. And matter of fact, he let them go to the park board meeting on Tuesday and sit up there and talk like idiots because they talked about this very issue. Whoa, something's going to have to come up. We're going to have to meet soon and do something with this. We're going to do this. They talked about the appeals process for those people that had already received eviction notices or whatever. He talked about how, they were going to have this hearing and people could come. And then he allowed those people to sit there and say all of that. And then, 16 hours later, he went into a press conference and said, we're not doing this. And there you go. Kate brings up the question, wouldn't the board have to vote for this to happen? And that then brings up what Joanne's talking about. I would think they have to. I don't know how this happens. My question is, I think what we'll see is, I think we'll see them vote next meeting. They'll vote after the fact. And I don't know. I don't know that that's legal. I think it's a problem. I think that's an issue. So I have sent a record request to the city of Muncie asking for the complete numbers of, who's who, how many Delaware County people, how many city of Muncie people. I'm not asking for names. I'm not asking for addresses. I'm literally just asking for them to give me a tally mark, a check, yes, how, whatever the number is, a total of where people are. I think that Muncie residents and PCR leaseholders would have a suit if the park votes after the mayor announced. Yeah, look, here's the thing, though. It's going to take people of Muncie, people of the leaseholders to stand up and actually do something. Someone's going to have to go. Someone's going to have to go and talk to an attorney. Someone's going to have to talk with the people. They're going to have to approach this the way that the people in the county approached the solar deal. As a seasonal campers, we have yet to be notified. If we didn't have Facebook, we would not have known. Let me ask you this, Kathy. Do you, as seasonal campers, have you paid for your winter storage? Did you pay for your winter storage? Yeah, Stumblefoot, yeah. If it was a real board, that is. Well, and Joe, let me see where Stumblefoot. That's very true. So I want to read something here. Indiana, and this is all information that's been out for a while. I want to thank. Stand by. I'm getting some information here that's source material. PCR's front desk quit the day that the mayor announced closing camping. She walked right out of her shift. Oh, wow. I don't know who that is. I don't know who that was, but I'm getting that right here. That's crazy. Let me see here. Just looking here. I just don't want to say. I don't want to say anything wrong. So you did pay storage. See, I think that's wrong too. I think that's wrong. And Joan has Joanne's put up comments from the park board president, where Joanne's text and said, I have a lot of people wanting to know if they can get their storage fee money back and get their campers out now, including myself. I didn't think they were going to do this. There are a lot of people upset. And Brad Marshall said, this direction is coming from the mayor. I will look in to what the options are and if there are prorated funds possible. And then he said, there will not be any prorating of winter storage. See, listen to me. That is nuts. You know why they're saying this? You know why Dan's saying this? Dan is saying this because Brad Marshall asked him. What you people out there need to do, anybody, everybody, I don't care who you are. I don't care if you have a rental out there or not. Call up to Prairie Creek and say, hey, we paid rental fee and we want our money back. Everybody that's paid into this, you need to show up and show out. You need to call Ridenour. You need to be at the next council meeting. You need to be at the next park board meeting. The next Muncie City Council meeting will be, give me 1 second here, I'll pull this up. It's coming up. So it's not tomorrow, it's a week from tomorrow. The next council meeting is 1 week from tomorrow. It will be on this Monday, December 1st. And everybody that has paid storage, winter storage, needs to be at the council meeting and demand your money back. Then you need to attend the next park board meeting, which will be on on Tuesday, December 16th. And you need to demand your money back. The leaseholders contribute $400,000 to the city budget for that park. That's a loud voice. Here's the thing. The problem is the problem is we packed our campers to unpack, not move. Yeah. I understand that. That's why this is what's going to have to happen. See, here's the problem. Here's the thing. This is why they owe you this money back. You paid this money. You paid this money to keep your camper there and to be able to go in next year and uncover it and, clean everything up and just be there. But they have now broken that agreement, that lease. I don't know if you signed something, that they've broken their end of the deal. And now you have to move it. So in order for you to move it, what you're going to have to do is they're going to have to let you in. You're going to have to go in. You're going to have to uncover it. You're going to have to pack to move, and you're going to have to move it. Yeah, I get it. I get it. Absolutely. So that's why I say they need to give you your money back. And then you've still got until the 31st of March to get it out of there. Because that's totally insane. It's totally insane that you guys would pay like by November 1st and have all that. And then on November 19th, he would say, okay, well, nobody's going to be here next year. Out you go. He did not. I don't believe he said that. No, I do not believe he said that. He did. To my knowledge, he did not say that, because if he would have, I would have raised a bitch about that. He talked about them having paid their amount. He talked about them having paid their amount, but he didn't say anything about not getting it back. You know what I think? You know what I think he did? I think someone asked him if there would be anything prorated, and he said they would have to look into it. Okay. Oh yeah, Joanne, that's the problem. That's the problem I have. That's the reason I do what I do. People say, well, you shouldn't worry about it. I say, look, you have to, because if they're doing all this shit, imagine what they're doing that we aren't finding out about. Imagine what they're doing that we don't. That's definitely a problem. So I think the city and the county are going to be at odds over this. I think it's going to come down to this. I think what I'm hearing is Dan is wanting the county to pay for some money. Dan is wanting the county to pay for some of this. And there's just, that's not going to happen. It's just a thing that there are things that the county does that sometimes affects the city of Muncie, and being a citizen of Muncie, which is also a citizen of Delaware County, you just get because of where you live. And as being the mayor of Muncie, sometimes there are just perks that people in the county get because their county seat happens to be Muncie. And this is one of those things. I hear you. Kathy. Listen. Do me a favor, Kathy, or anybody else on here that that has a lease out there. I would love to talk to you like one-on-one, So please feel free to write this number down. Write that number down and text me or call me tomorrow or the next couple days. I would like to talk to you if there's any way I can help you, or if you want to talk to an attorney and you need help finding an attorney, or you're just trying to figure out what to do. This needs to be something that, look, he shouldn't just get to be unscathed because of this. This is, and here's the thing. This is one of those things that I talk about, that people don't get active, people don't get mad until something affects them. This is how he runs his business. This is how he runs the city of Muncie. This is how things happen. So welcome to our nightmare. This is how he runs shit. It's not good. And if you're like, man, this is, this makes me mad, but at the end of the day, it's just camping. It's not like anything crazy. Look, this is how he does everything. This is how he does everything. I don't know. I don't even know. I don't know that there'd be anything here. I would be surprised if there aren't people talking to an attorney to find out. I don't know what there would be, but I'm just saying, you need, especially if they're not going to give you the money back, or they're saying they're not going to give you the money back. I would have a real problem with that. Wait, what did you say, Kathy? Please can me, Kate? Yeah, that's true, Rachel Clark. Okay. Remember when Dan heated the outside during the jail deconstruction? Oh yeah, dude. Yeah. I'm telling you, Dan is. I just continue to wonder what his deal is. So we'll continue following this. I'll continue seeing what goes on, and we will let you guys know. We'll let you guys know as we move along what is going on, and when I hear more, like I said, I did file a record request. So as soon as I get that, I will keep you guys posted with that, bring that information to light, and I will give you everything that I've got. If anybody has information, provide it to me. If you want to remain anonymous, I don't burn sources. Go back, look at anything, talk to people. I do not burn sources. If you don't care if I use your name, let me know that, or whatever else is in between. I'll do whatever. But please get a hold of me if there's somehow I can help or whatever, and we will do it. So, by the way, it's not just camping. I have relationships. Yeah, absolutely, Kathy. Absolutely. Yes. So yeah, absolutely. Everybody keep me posted on that. Okay. We need to move along here. We got a couple of other things that we need to talk about, and it's important. So I want to get to these other things. Moving along to the national scene, dude, the other day it was crazy. I think we had just done the show. Yeah, it was Thursday. Thursday night is when, I don't know when it was, Thursday or Friday. It all bleeds together now. I'm sitting here in the chair, and I get this message, and it says Marjorie Taylor Greene resigned. And I was like, oh my God, you got to be kidding me. So that was crazy. Of course, I wanted to see what was going on with all of that nonsense. So I quickly found where that had happened, and wanted to look and make sure, it wasn't bull crap. I wanted to make sure that it was actually real. So first thing I did is I went to her Twitter page, and holy shit, she's just sitting right on there, right on her Twitter page, looking like Marjorie Taylor Greene, doing her thing, and talking about resigning. It was quite nuts. She was sitting there looking like this. For those that haven't seen it, I'm not going to listen to the whole thing. I just want you guys to hear this for a second. I'm going to read it to you. But
hi, everyone. I've always represented the common American man and woman as a member of the House of Representatives, which is why I've always been despised in Washington, D.C., and just never fit in. Americans are used by the political industrial complex of both political parties, election cycle after election cycle, in order to elect whichever side can convince Americans.
Look at her eyes. Looks like she's kind of on something. Looks like she's high. And I hate saying that. I probably shouldn't say that. But look at her eyes. Watch her eyes. Something seems up.
To hate the other side more. And the results are always the same. No matter which way the political pendulum swings, Republican or Democrat,
and look, I know she's reading,
American
but
man or woman. The debt
right
goes
there,
higher,
something happened.
Corporate and global interests remain Washington's sweethearts. American jobs continue to be replaced, whether it's by illegal labor or legal labor by visas or just shipped overseas. Small businesses continue to be swallowed by big corporations. Americans' hard-earned tax dollars always fund foreign wars, foreign aid, and foreign interest. And the spending power of the dollar continues to decline. The average American family can no longer survive on a single breadwinner's income, as both parents have to work in order to simply survive. And today, many in my children's generation feel hopeless for their future and don't think they will ever realize the American dream. And that breaks my heart. I ran for Congress in 2020 and have fought every single day believing that Make America Great Again meant America first. I have one of the most conservative voting records in Congress, defending the First Amendment, Second Amendment, unborn babies, because I believe God creates life at conception, and I love to fight for the little guy. Strong, safe borders, I have fought hard for that. I've fought against COVID tyrannical insanity and mandated mass vaccinations, and I've never voted to fund foreign wars with your hard-earned tax dollars. However, with almost 1 year into our majority, the legislature has been mostly sidelined. We endured an 8-week shutdown, wrongly, resulting in the House not working for the entire time, and we are entering campaign season, which means all courage leaves and only safe campaign re-election mode is turned on in the House of Representatives.
Ding.
During the longest shutdown in our nation's history.
All right, I'm going to pause this here, and I'm going to read a little bit from this for you. Okay, so here's the thing, man. This is so weird. I don't know. She's always been a weirdo. I mean, she's done and said a whole bunch of weird shit. Of course, that's just where we are politically now. Like, everybody, the good and the bad, the good, bad, and the ugly, just all say weird shit now. You know, you just really don't know what anybody's capable of saying or not saying. Everybody's capable of saying and doing weird things. Okay? That's just kind of what the deal is. So I don't really care what she does. I mean, you know, look, I'm not for anybody that leaves in the middle of their term. See it out. Don't run for re-election if that's what this is about. If you don't want to get primaried to death or whatever, don't run for re-election. Finish your term out. Don't leave ahead of time because you promised your constituents that time. Okay? But there are a lot of things in this that she said, and I feel like if everybody would forget for a moment that it's Marjorie Taylor Greene and everybody would just apply these words, they make sense, okay? So I want everybody to do me a favor. Forget that it's Marjorie Taylor Greene. And I want you to listen to this. However, with almost 1 year into our majority, the legislature has been mostly sidelined. We've endured an 8-week shutdown, wrongly resulting in the House not working for the entire time. Totally agree with that. And we are entering campaign season, which means all courage leaves and only safe campaigning re-election mode is turned on. Listen, that is perfect. That's spot on. We see it. We see it here at the State House in Indiana. We see it at the national level. During the election season, they don't do anything that's worth a damn. It's all about campaign mode. And they're not going to put anything up, Democrats or Republicans alike. They both do this. They're going to do whatever they can do to minimize any kind of blowback or controversy, and they're only going to put up safe bills and do the safe thing. And that's gross. During the longest shutdown in our nation's history, I raged against my own speaker and my own party for refusing to proactively work diligently to pass a plan to save American health care and protect Americans from outrageous, overpriced, and unaffordable health insurance policies. The House should have been in session working every day to fix this disaster, but instead, America was force-fed disgusting political drama once again from both sides of the aisle. My bills, which reflect many of President Trump's executive orders, like calling for new census and counting American only to draw new districts, making English the official language of the United States, making it a felony to medically trans a minor, and other bills like eliminating capital gain taxes on the sale of your home and eliminating House H-1B visas. H-1B visas just sit collecting dust. That's how it is for most members of Congress. Bills to the Speaker never bring them to the floor. Congress's bills. The Speaker never brings them to the floor for a vote. And once again, that happens on both sides of the aisles. The Speaker only brings forward what the Speaker wants, and everybody's bills that work there hard, they just sit around and go nowhere. Both Democrats and Republicans, it doesn't matter who's in, the same thing happens. It's complete and utter bullshit. Many common Americans are no longer easily convinced by paid political propaganda. That's true. Spokespersons, consultants on TV, and paid shills on social media obediently serving with cult-like conviction to force others to swallow the political party talking points. I agree with that, both sides. Because they know how much credit card debt they have. They know how much their own bills have gone up over the past 5 years. And they actually do their own grocery shopping and no food costs too much. Their rent has increasingly gone up and they've been outbid by corporate asset managers too many times when they put in an offer to buy a house. Okay, all of this stuff's true. There are people I represent and love because that's who all of my family and friends are, common Americans. I have been blessed to represent the 14th district, yada, yada, yada. Okay, we're going from there. I've been working hard to bring taxpayer dollars back home to help districts. I have fought harder than almost anyone, any other elected Republican to elect Donald Trump and Republicans to power, traveling the country for years, spending millions of my own money, missing precious time with my family. Let's see here. Okay. I will never forget that. Okay, I don't care about her personal stuff. That's great. Through it all, I never, because she didn't have to run if she didn't want. Through it all, I never changed or went back on my campaign promise, or only disagreed in a few areas, like my stance against H-1Bs replacing American jobs, AI state moratoriums, debt for life 50-year mortgage scams, standing strongly against all involvement in foreign wars, and demanding the release of the Epstein files. Other than my voting record, who has been solidly with my party and the president. Loyalty should be a two-way street. I agree, Republican or Democrat, either way. We shouldn't have these people backstabbing just to backstab. And here's the thing, and she was good at that too. But here's the deal: we as Americans, as citizens, as Republicans, as Democrats, we should be permitted to disagree with the members of our own party, and that shouldn't just absolutely guarantee us a boot out the door. We should be able to understand that it is okay for us to agree and disagree. And that shouldn't mean that now you're, someone that you have been following and blindly trusting and pushing in front of everybody for years is now going to just completely turn the back on you and throw you to the wolves. That's crazy. Okay. America first should mean America first and only Americans first, with no other foreign countries ever being attached to America first in our halls of government. Standing up for American women who were raped at 14, trafficked, and used by rich, powerful men should not result in me being called a traitor and threatened by the President of the United States, whom I fought for. However, while yes, hurtful, my heart remains filled with joy. Okay, and then here's what's interesting to me. This is where we get down to what's interesting. Let's see here. She talks about, and maybe this is here. I have too much self-respect and dignity, love for my family way too much. Love my family way too much. And do not want my sweet district to have to endure a hurtful and hateful primary against me by a president we all fought for, only to fight and win the election, while Republicans will likely lose the midterms, and in turn be expected to then defend the president against impeachment after he has hatefully dumped tens of millions of dollars against me, trying to destroy me. It is also absurd and completely unserious. I refuse to be a battered wife, hoping it all gets better, goes away and gets better. If I am cast aside by MAGA, Inc., and replaced by neocons, big pharma, big tech, military, industrial war complex, foreign leaders, and the elite donor class that can't even relate to real Americans, then many common Americans have been cast aside and replaced as well. There is no plan to save the world. How many times have I said that here, ladies and gentlemen? You got to do it on your own. No one's coming to get you. There is no plan to save the world or insane 4D chess game being played. Dude, that's absolutely correct, man. I just don't know how much more I can say that's truthful. You can hate her all you want. I'm not a big fan, but a lot of these words she said, I can absolutely speak to. Now, I will tell you, I think it's laughable that not only is she giving up on the citizens that elected her to be there for the full term, but she also happens to be resigning just a couple days after her lifetime pension gets vested. So because of when she's going to leave, she will now be vested for her pension for life. So it's funny that she says that she doesn't think that she believes in term limits, and she doesn't think that Congress should be a permanent old folks home. But yet she's going to be paid for the rest of her life for just a couple years of service. Absolutely freaking laughable. Hey, Tiger Shark, we're glad you found this channel here too. We hope that you subscribe, like the show if you like it. You can go back and subscribe. We're here nightly, Sunday through Thursday. We're here Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at 9 p.m., giving you all the very best in political commentary, local, state, national. Ta-da! That's us. Okay, so that's it. I just thought that was interesting for the Marjorie Taylor Greene deal. So she's not gone. She's just gonna stick around until she gets her lifetime pension, which I think is just utterly, totally gross. Just wild that's happening, but it is what it is. So, whatever. I think it's interesting that Trump has been just absolutely raging against her, talking about how badly he can't stand her and what an idiot she is, and she's a traitor and all of this stuff. But they've had this love affair for so long. And just for the record, I mean, like, jokingly, I don't think they've actually been in an affair. You know what I mean? But it is what it is. But what's funny to me is then he literally went, he was on Truth Social today and said the Republican Party has never been so united as it is right now, other than Rand Paul Jr., Massey, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and a couple other lowlifes. And other than the fact that many want the election-threatening filibuster terminated, the Dems will do it in the first minute of their first chance. So he posted this about her today while he was literally recorded today saying, "Oh, she's a nice person." It's just so comical. It's like not even real life. It's just totally insane. But yeah, that's crazy. Needed that pension because 25 million is not enough. Yeah, right. It's so crazy. So crazy. Okay, so that's that. Did I want to say something else about that? I think that's it. I think that's all I wanted to say about that. But just insane that literally Donald Trump was able to tweet and record like almost at the same time, talking about hating her and thinking how she was a wonderful person, all at the very same time, which is just totally insane to me. Okay. Moving on. Megyn Kelly and Casey Anthony. Okay, this is going to get me in trouble. So for all of you new people that are here that maybe have not been here before, and the people that are just like, "Oh, I love this channel, I love you." So one of the big things I say on here all the time is I don't want to give anybody the wrong impression. I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a progressive, and I'm not a liberal. I am a right-leaning, constitutionally minded, conservative libertarian, or libertarian conservative, whichever way you want to say it. I believe in personal rights, personal freedoms. I don't bother you. You don't bother me. We'll help each other out if we want to. Can't be forced to. I don't care what you do, who you do, what you eat, what you drink, what you smoke, what you shoot. I don't care what you do. Don't hurt me. I won't hurt you, and we'll be good. Okay. Other than that, nobody agrees with anybody 100% of the time. People who say they do are lying. Nobody disagrees 100% of the time. People that say they do are lying. You're going to like things I say. You're going to disagree with things I say. You're going to hate things I say. You can still watch. We can still be friends, and we can rock and roll. And if this is a show that you like, great. If it's a show you don't like, great. We'll still be cool, or we won't be cool. It's all the same. We were good before we knew each other, and we'll be good after. So it's all good, bro and sis, whatever you want to say. That being said, this is probably where I'm going to make some people mad. Okay. So I want to tell you how my brain works. Okay. I'm a man. If I punch a man, if I'm just standing there and I punch a man right in the mouth, just punch him right in the mouth, that's bad, and it's a crime. Okay? Oh, then we'll get right along, Tiger Shark. Yeah, I hope you're a good Republican, not one of these weirdo freak Indiana Republicans that's not a real Republican. It's fake establishment jerk off idiots. All right. So here we go. So yeah, we'll be good then. So just follow me on this train. If I punch a man in the mouth, it's bad. It's a crime. Okay. If I punch a woman in the mouth, it's worse. You follow me? Like, would you all agree? If me, being a man, if I If I'm just standing there in front of a man and I punch a man in the mouth, it's bad, it's worse. I mean, it's bad. It's crime. If I'm just standing there and I punch a woman in the mouth, in my opinion, it's worse. Okay? Now, if I punch a 15-year-old in the mouth, it's even worse. Okay? If I punch a 6-year-old in the mouth, it's even worse. You see what we're doing? You see how we're kind of stepping down? We're getting from like bad to least worth, okay? All right, so you see what we're saying? Least worst to the worstest, I guess. If I punch a man, it's bad, and it's a crime. It's battery. If I punch a woman, it's battery. We're not in a relationship. It's just these are blind people, just unknown people. If I punch a man, it's battery, and it's bad, and it's battery. If I punch a woman, it's bad and it's battery. But in my opinion, it's worse. If I punch a 15-year-old, it's worse. If I punch an 8-year-old or a 6-year-old, it's worse. Okay, that's just how I believe. Okay, that's just how I roll. Please understand, you guys have all watched me. Tiger Shark is new, but a lot of you people are here and have watched me forever. You understand, as a former police officer, I've worked patrol. I've worked general CID criminal investigation division. I've worked sex crimes, and I've worked narcotics. Okay. I don't do well with sex crimes. It's not. I cannot deal with it. Child molestations, rape, whatever. I don't downplay any of that whatsoever. Raping a woman is horrible. That's a bad situation. Raping a 15-year-old is bad, but it's worse. Just in my opinion. Just in my opinion. A 6-year-old is unimaginable. I wasn't even going to say it, but it's just unimaginable. Okay, so there is a stair step. I hope people can understand where I'm going here. I'm saying this because so apparently 10 days ago, Megyn Kelly was talking about Epstein. And Megyn Kelly was talking about, and here's the problem with people clipping seconds out of a 2-hour podcast. You got a 2-hour podcast, and someone clicks 10 seconds. You can't do that. So in her conversation, she was talking about whether or not Epstein is a true pedophile or not. Because he's very well known that he is a womanizer, and he's very well known to have relations with women, and we know that there are people that have been on his island and that he has hooked up powerful men and women with young women. But for himself, he likes the quote unquote barely legal type. He's not somebody that is, I've not really seen or heard much that shows him going after 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, and things like this. Okay. I feel like he's somebody that's more in line with the whole 16, 17 type of thing. Okay. And I agree with Megyn Kelly there. I feel like that's probably true. Okay. I feel like she's probably getting around somewhere there. Now, The fact that he might not have been into small children, but the fact that he helped procure them is just as bad. We're not talking about that. We're just talking about what he liked and didn't like. Well, she stated this. And it's all bad. He should be arrested for all of it. But she was just talking about his proclivity. And Casey Anthony came out of the dark reaches of wherever it is she's been to say the following. To all the survivors of Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, and to every single other individual who abused you, we stand united with you. Okay, great. I mean, I'm with her there. I get it. I'm with them all, and I want them to all be taken care of, and I want all the information to come out. I want to know every bit of everything, and I don't care who's on the list. I want them all. Bring them all out. Let's line them up. Let's get them found guilty. If they're found guilty, whatever, execute, not execute, life in prison, whatever we got to do, rock and roll, let's do it. She goes on and she says, to the United States Congress, we implore you to continue to release these documents to continue to protect the victims. What about that child that was in your car? The child that you let, quote unquote, stay with Zanny the nanny. Casey, what about that victim? Oh, we don't want to talk about that victim. Oh, okay. This has all been a legal battle. This has been a legal battle of the century. Casey Anthony. Remember, this is Casey Anthony saying this. So everything I'm saying is Casey Anthony's words. One that, as much as we have heard about, the majority of the information has been suppressed or redacted. There are at least 1,000 victims. What happened to them should never be justified. These were children, teenagers, and now they're grown women still telling their stories. They are still fighting for justice. To anyone, especially Megyn Kelly, who have the audacity to justify even one moment of these crimes, you should be ashamed. Now listen. Megyn Kelly is not justifying a damn thing that Jeffrey Epstein did. She's just going down the thought experiment of saying, it's bad if I punch a man in the face. It's worse if I punch a child. It's bad if a man forces himself on a woman. That's bad. It's a crime. It's worse if he does it to a child. And if that child's 15, that's horrible. But if the child's 6, man, that's almost... if you can't understand that there's still a difference between being 16 and 6, if you can't understand that, maybe that's Casey Anthony's issue. When she was riding her daughter in the trunk, she thought she was 16. She didn't see there was any difference between being 6 and 16. Well, I could give so much Xanax to a 16-year-old. I could probably give the same amount to a 6-year-old. It's no different. No different here. I just think it's very strange. You should be ashamed of yourself, she says. You should be ashamed as a woman. You should be ashamed as a lawyer. How effing dare you continue to victimize the victims? Nobody's doing that. Teenagers are children by law. Yes. But if Casey Anthony doesn't know the difference between hurting a 15 or 16-year-old versus hurting a 5 or 6-year-old, maybe that's how she ended up in the position she was in. You know what I mean? Yeah, I got you. I got you. I figured that's who you're talking about. There are statutes in place federally and and in each individual state that protect people under the age of 18. They are not considered legal adults until at least 18. Every incident that occurred was a crime. No one's arguing with that. There is no justification for these comments and statements, legal or otherwise. Stop using your platform to lift up the abusers. Nobody's doing that. And to further hurt those who were victimized from day one. As a fellow victim of childhood sexual abuse. And this is Casey Anthony saying this, which I guess I don't know. I don't know if that's true or not. Did we ever find out if that was true or not? Maybe it is. And you know what, Casey, if that's true, I am so sorry. But also, maybe just stop posting on social media. Maybe crawl back into your hole. I mean, you got a right to say whatever you want. But I think people have a right to be like, who? What? Why is she saying this? Why is she talking? Has she ever, when is she going to write her If I Did It book? What a weirdo. I just thought that was very strange. And I stand behind. There are a lot of times that Megyn Kelly says things that I'm mad about. This is not one of them. I completely understand where Megyn Kelly was coming from. So I don't know. She's trying to make a big thing out of this. Casey Anthony has apparently come out real hard in the last couple of weeks. They said she launched a TikTok page. And in the TikTok page, it says, I'm a researcher, a consultant, and an advocate for LGBTQ, and an advocate. LGBTQ ally, certified nutrition coach, CNC. Like, she's a certified nutrition coach. I'm going to call her and be like, hey, if you don't feed a human child for how many days can you go without feeding a human child? Yeah, no, she didn't add that she was also a child murderer. She did not add that. Casey Anthony has been networking. It's disgusting. Yeah, what a weirdo, man. What a weirdo. So, yeah, whatever. I wanted to talk about that because I saw that and I thought that was very, 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 very peculiar. Okay. Hey, this is the last topic and then we're done. I'll get you out of here really quickly. So, over the weekend, Guy Relford talked about a case. This happened just Friday night, or Saturday night, up in Lafayette. And, I guess what happened was, the Lafayette police were, well, I'm going to read this to you. Okay. This was Friday. So it was Thursday and Friday. At approximately 12:25 a.m., an LPD, Lafayette Police Department officer conducted a traffic stop on a vehicle near the intersection of South Street and Sagamore Parkway on suspicion of OWI. Okay, that's impaired driving, DUI, whatever you want to call it. During the stop, the male driver made statements indicating a risk of harm to himself. So he must have been saying, like, I don't have anything to live for. I want to hurt myself. I'm going to kill myself, something like that. Before he then fled the scene in his vehicle. Per the LPD officer's department policy, for whatever reason, and I'm not really sure what this is, we'll learn this at some point, they did not chase after him. I don't know why. Don't know if it was a lot of traffic or whatever, but they made the decision. We got his information. We'll find him eventually. They didn't chase after him, but they kept looking for him. They were trying to find him, but they weren't pursuing him. So they continued looking. And less than an hour later, at 1:16 a.m., LPD units observed the suspect's vehicle on Frontage Road. The suspect drove to the Waterford Court apartment complex, where LPD units were assisted by troopers from the Indiana State Police. The male suspect parked his vehicle in the 200 block of Porsche Lane East. When officers confronted the suspect, he was non-compliant with verbal commands and stated that he was armed with a weapon. Now, we don't know if he was. We've not seen any video. They didn't say that he was or wasn't during the first stop. He just made this comment after the second stop. Okay. He was armed with a weapon. The suspect then moved his hands into his waistband behind his back as if he was reaching his hand behind his back. The officers must have told the story because they're saying he moved his hands into his waistband as if he was preparing to brandish a weapon. Because a lot of times people will carry guns in the small of their back, and that's a common thing. Because of his words and because he made that motion into the small of his back between the seat, officers then shot, and there was an officer-involved shooting. Several officers fired their weapon. Officers immediately rendered medical aid to the male suspect. The suspect, however, died at the scene. There were no other occupants in the vehicle, no officers were shot, and no civilians or bystanders were injured during the incident. Per standard protocol for officer-involved critical incidents, the involved LPD officers had been placed on administrative leave. The identity of the deceased male is being withheld pending positive identification of the proper notification of the next of kin by the Tippecanoe County Coroner's Office, and it remains an active and ongoing joint investigation between the Lafayette Police Department and the Indiana State Police. At this time, there's no further information to release. People in the comments were talking about how if they don't find a weapon, if the weapon was never there, all the officers were going to be in trouble. And that's not true. That unfortunately isn't true. And I mean unfortunately because it's unfortunate that people in Indiana still don't understand how hindsight does not get to play a role in whether or not someone is guilty. You cannot base what we know after the fact and say, this is how it should have been done, and because it was done a different way, they're guilty, okay? I want you to hear the last few moments of Guy's show. It's very, very important. This is very, very important. And it's important to this case, but I'm talking about this because it's also, in my opinion, very important for another case that we've currently been talking about pretty frequently here. It's very, you know, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the Whitestown shooting, and it's a hot button issue. It's going to be a hot button issue, and there's that. So I want we'll pull this up here. Let me get this going here. Let's see if this is right.
Whole life ahead of you, so choose a Medicare plan you can count on. If you're living with a chronic condition,
What? We are in the commercials. Okay, here we go.
Precedent in that Congress passed the Law Enforcement Officer Safety Act, LEOSA, that allows law enforcement officers.
Okay, here we are.
Anderson. Go to downtownindy.org/holidays.
But Lafayette Police Department officers, and at that point, upon prosecution under state law for killing someone, which there are civil rights issues. In fact, civil rights.
He just read the case that I read. He read the same thing. Now he's talking about it. Listen to this.
It's criminal violations that can apply to police officers, which is someone acting under color of state law who deprives someone of their constitutional rights. And you can deprive someone of their constitutional rights by shooting them or otherwise using excessive force on them. But secondly, there's simply prosecution under state law for killing someone, which could be a murder, it could be a voluntary manslaughter, it could be any number of different charges, unless it's justified. So let's just stay with state law and justification based on self-defense. And a lot of people on my social media post, I think this one was on X, were discussing whether or not, and this actually may have been an Andrew Ganot's post now that I think about it, we're discussing whether or not this was justified. It was going to be determined to a significant degree by whether the guy really had a gun or not. He said he had a gun, and he reached to his waistband behind his back, at which point the officers opened fire. And I immediately made the point that whether he actually had a gun or not is not even relevant to the inquiry. And people found that really surprising, and some people found that repugnant. Well, what do you mean? If he didn't really have a gun, he was never a risk. He was never a danger to the officer. And if he was never an actual danger to the officer, then the use of force was not justified in self-defense. And it...
I just killed it. Hold on.
Plainfield is the place for you.
I just messed it up. Hold on.
But that whether he had a gun or not would determine whether or not this was...
I just messed it up. This is very important. It's very important to this. And I also want people to understand it also is very important to people's understanding of the Whitestown shooting. Listen to what he says here.
A justified use of force in self-defense. Now, listen, when it comes to police action shootings, there's a whole added element that doesn't apply to us as civilians by whether the guy really had a gun or not. He said he had a gun, and he reached to his waistband behind his back, at which point the officers opened fire. And I immediately made the point that whether he actually had a gun or not is not even relevant to the inquiry. And people found that really surprising, and some people found that repugnant. Well, what do you mean? If he didn't really have a gun, he was never a risk. He was never a danger to the officer. And if he was never an actual danger to the officer, then the use of force was not justified in self-defense. And it just made me realize that this is another example of where people really don't understand the law of self-defense as it operates in Indiana. Because, again, talking only about self-defense and legal justification under the law of self-defense in Indiana, whether you're talking about the general self-defense statute that applies to you no matter where you might be, including out in public, and would apply to this officer being out in public, or whether you're talking about the Castle Doctrine that applies to you when you're in your home, your dwelling,
or your
as well as
car,
your curtilage or occupied motor vehicle. Whichever scenario you're talking about, whether you're justified or not depends on whether you had a reasonable belief the deadly force was necessary under the circumstances that are justified in each of those different scenarios. Out in public, you have to reasonably believe the deadly force is necessary to prevent serious bodily injury to you or a third person. Reasonably believe. You don't have to be right. The statute.
Ding, 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 ding. And that's sad. And that sucks. And that's horrible because there are unfortunately situations and there are unfortunately scenarios where bad situations occur and it sucks for everybody involved. Somebody gets hurt, somebody winds up dead, somebody's taken a person's life and it wasn't necessarily needed or whatever, but the person doesn't have to be right. They only have to have that reasonable belief. Listen, I want him to say it again here.
The deadly force was necessary under the circumstance being out in public. Or whether you're talking about the castle doctrine that applies to you when you're in your home, your dwelling, as well as your curtilage or occupied motor vehicle. Whichever scenario you're talking about, whether you're justified or not depends on whether you had a reasonable belief the deadly force was necessary under the circumstances that are justified in each of those different scenarios. Out in public, you have to reasonably believe the deadly force is necessary to prevent serious bodily injury to you or a third person. Reasonably believe. You don't have to be right. The statute doesn't put on anyone the obligation of being omniscient. And the law, and through case law and the wording of the statute itself, specifically prohibits evaluating someone's reasonable belief and the use of force based on that reasonable belief. It particularly precludes the opportunity to use hindsight to attack someone's decision. Well, hold on. He said he had a gun and he reached behind himself into his waistband to grab a gun. You then defended yourself, but he didn't actually have a gun. Based on hindsight, there was never a risk to begin with. Therefore, you were not justified. No, and no. The law says you simply have to have a reasonable belief. There are cases that say specifically, I talk about this in my Essentials of Indiana Gun Law class. You can be wrong. The person who points the airsoft gun at an officer doesn't have an orange tip. It looks exactly like a real gun. Turns out to be an airsoft gun after the fact. Does that mean the officer was not justified in using force? No, it's based on a reasonable belief. That's how the law works. That's how it should work. And people need to understand that. I'll tell you what, we're coming up on the top of
So that's it. The thing is, I want to get people in a position where they are removing the idea of approaching this and following this after we're Monday morning quarterbacking it. We have to stop Monday morning quarterbacking it, or if we're going to, we have to do it in such a way that we're not applying our knowledge to their knowledge at the time and then saying, well, look, we knew that it was just a cleaning lady. We knew that it was an airsoft. We knew that it was a bar of soap that had shoe polish on it to look like a gun, and Bo Stevens, you're not wrong. You're not wrong in the fact that he very well could have PTSD from the Navy, or from being a psychiatric nurse or whatever the hell it was that he is whatever. He could have that, and they can check to see, I guess, maybe they will, maybe they won't. I don't know. My only thing, and the thing I'll say that is having PTSD doesn't necessarily doesn't stop you from being able to defend yourself or being afraid, and it doesn't necessarily prohibit you from having a gun. Now, there could be some cases where if you have some kind of severe mental issue, maybe that stops you, but then that becomes a whole nother question of, are the red flag laws right? If someone has a severe mental illness, should they have a gun, not have a gun? That's a whole nother conversation. And I'd like to have Guy on and maybe talk about that sometime, because that would be great, because well, that's what he does. But we'll talk with him here in the near future and see about maybe having that done. But I just wanted to put that forward, let you guys see that and hear that and see what was going on, because things like this happen all the time. Because there's a lot of people out there that says, oh, this is just a once in a lifetime case. And no. Things like this happen a lot. People just don't know about it, specifically because the reason that this is getting so much air right now, not the reason that it is, but a good chunk of the reason, I'm just going to say it, I believe, is because he's a white man. She is from Guatemala, and there's people pushing that. So it is what it is. All right, you guys take care. I will continue following up with the situation with Prairie Creek. I will let you know what goes on with the record request and everything else. Take care. God bless. Have a wonderful start to the work week. We will be back here, God willing, tomorrow at 9 p.m. And we should have a busy week of shows for you guys. Take care, and we'll see you then. Goodbye. I can't figure out which way I want to end it.